What's going on? It's your boy CJ Goodfella back with the boxing clinic one time for the one time shout out to the LDBC. And today let's talk about on this 4th of July, happy Independence Day everybody. Let's talk about the difference between a robbery and a close call in the sport of boxing. Now, really, a fight is opinionated. Usually depending on which way it go, it's subjective, especially when you're talking about watching it on TV and watching it in person. Two different totally different things. And I can actually see why going to more fights now. I've been quite a few before I even started my channel. We started doing YouTube videos in the beginning, but it looks totally different than it does on TV being there live, depending on where you're sitting at. It's a totally different feeling. Close, far, nosebleed, wherever. But it's a difference between a robbery and a close fight. And it's subjective. Some people thought Jeff Horn and Pacquiao was a competitive fight. A lot of people with the valued opinion, with value as far as the fans, where they value their opinion, thought it was a close fight. Seen one guy, Eric Bradley from Master Boxing, I think he scored it 8-4 for Jeff Horn. I think he said. Don't quote me on that, but I think he said that. Of course, Teddy Atlas seen it a different way. And another thing about watching it on TV and watching it live is the simple fact that if you watch it with sound, excuse me, the commentary usually sways your opinion a lot. And people using CompuBox for reference to back up their notion or their opinion on a fight is totally crazy. CompuBox is a guy that's telling you what lands and what doesn't land, sitting at home with a clicker or wherever the fuck he's sitting. It's not official that what punch lands and what punch don't land. He can land a whole bunch of pity pat parlay Mananaji punches, but were they effective? Excuse me, did they take effect on the other fighter? Who knows? It's opinionated as well. So CompuBox, you can't use that as well. But it's a difference. A robbery is like Lara versus Paul Williams, where Lara actually beat the shit out of Paul Williams, dominating him. That's a robbery. Jeff Horn Pacquiao, close fight, but I felt I didn't score it, but I felt that it could have, in my opinion, it was a robbery. Let's keep it real. It was a robbery, and I scored a fight. Maybe I go back and have a different opinion on it, but I thought it was a robbery. I thought Pacquiao was set up, but for sure, a robbery is Lara and fucking Paul Williams. That was a fucking robbery. Pacquiao, Tim Bradley won. It was a close fight, but I still felt that was a robbery. Danny Jacobs, Triple G, close fight. Very close fight. Lara, Canelo, close fight. Trout, Canelo, close fight. But once you see the scores that were very wide in some of those fights, that's just crazy. That was a robbery on the scorecards, even though they still might have lost. But they wasn't even in the game, but they seemed way more competitive than what the scorecards indicated. Shavakov, Robert Easter Jr., way more competitive than the scorecards even indicated. I thought, without even scoring, I thought Robert Easter Jr. edged them, but a lot of people tend to think Shavakov beat him. But you got to remember, most people have their feelings toward a certain fighter. They don't want to see him win. They don't like the publicity they getting, or something about the fighter they don't like, so they tend to have a bias going into scoring the fight, and judges are trained not to have that bias. So you got to remember that when people scream robbery, or when it's a close fight, or however they feel. Kovalev War 1, I thought it was a close fight that could have went either way. Most people scream robbery because their guy didn't win. The biasness of their guy didn't win. It's the difference between a close fight and a robbery. We just spoke on it. This is your boy CJ Goodfella. We gone.